Thank you, Council. We may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Mr. Ebou Jallow on standby. On Skype. Mr. Ebou Jallow, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Madam Council.
Could he be sworn, please?
Sure.
Could you swear the witness? Do you have?
Good afternoon, Mr. Jallow.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Can you please repeat the oath after me, this oath after me?
Yes, please.
Please say, I swear by the Almighty Allah that
I swear by the Almighty Allah that
the evidence I shall give to this commission
the evidence I shall give to this commission
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me Allah.
So help me Allah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Could you state your full names, please?
Yes, my name is Ebou Jallow, known as Captain Ebou Jallow.
Could you repeat the name?
Yes, my name is Captain Ebou Jallow, formerly known as Captain Ebou Jallow.
So your first name is Ebou, E-B-O-U. It's not short.
J-A-O-W.
Sorry, I'm going to ask you to repeat that. Is Ebou your full name?
Yes, E-B-O-U.
Okay. You are still going by the title captain?
Well, yes, yes, I'll go by that.
All right. Where do you live? If you prefer to write your address down, you can do so, but where do you live?
Yeah, I live in New York City, United States.
We would require that you email your address to us so that the record can be complete.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm sending it to commission if you want me to send it now or later.
Okay. There's a lot of noise. If you can. All right.
Oh, from my side?
No, that's fine. I'm just talking to the technicians.
Okay.
Mr. Jallow, Captain Jallow, you've been required, you've contacted to give evidence on this inquiry. Could you give us a background of your career in government? You were in the public service of the Gambia government.
Yes, I was enlisted into the Gambia National Army. I believe around 1988. I served in the infantry battalions at Union Barracks, and then subsequently I was nominated as an officer cadet, and then get commissioned into the Gambia National Army as an officer of the Gambia National Army. And subsequently, I was appointed also as a member of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council.
Right. Before the coup in 1994, what office did you hold?
I was the commanding officer of I think it was called then the 3rd Marine Company, which subsequently is the parent of the current Gambian Navy.
Could you stop for a moment?
Yes.
There's a lot of echo. There's a lot of echo. Could you adjust it? You were saying you were serving in
Yes, I was the commanding officer of the 3rd Marine Company, which was at that time it is the parent of the current Gambian Navy.
All right. What position did you hold at that time?
Yes, I was the commanding officer of the Gambian Navy at that time.
Your commanding officer is a rank. What was your rank? That's what I wanted to know.
I was a captain. Commanding officer is the appointment.
Okay. You were captain before the coup.
Yes, I was promoted acting captain to go on a course to the U.S. Naval War College, and when I came back, my rank was confirmed as captain and as the commanding officer of the 3rd Marine Company.
And the 3rd Marine Company, as you call it, was it part of the Gambia National Army?
Yes, it was. It is now called the Gambian Navy.
I asked the question because at the time we also had the gendarmerie.
Yes.
But
Yes,
this was part of the...
Yes, it was part of the Gambian National Army.
When did you join the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council?
This was in the first week of February in 1995.
How did you come to join the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council?
Well, I received a call from then the Vice Chairman, Edward Singate, Captain Edward Singate. At that time, I think there were some issues with the council. Two of their members were detained. They were arrested and detained. I think it was the ex-Vice Chairman then, Sabali, and one Sadiq Haidar. So I was invited. They called me to the State House and told me that I was appointed as the spokesman of the AFPRC.
At that time, what office were you holding? Immediately before you became spokesperson?
I was also, I think they call the commissioner of the Western region in Bilkama. Okay. I think now they call them governors. I think the name changed, but at that time it was called a commissioner. I relieved Captain Lamin Kababajo as commissioner over there. But I did serve there as commissioner briefly, like less than a month, before I was finally told to settle at the State House.
Okay, what was your role as spokesman of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council?
As a spokesman, my understanding at that time was I was a member of the council. The council was the sole legislative body of the junta at that time. And of course, you all know the constitution was suspended. So the council was the sole legislative body and the supreme military organization of the entire security structure in the country. And the spokesman role is just a secondary job that I had to do in case that the council wants to communicate with the public or any matters that refers to any kind of public communication. But then also council can assign me any other secondary role. On several occasions, I was overseeing the foreign ministry. Most of the time, whenever the foreign minister is not available or whatever portfolio that the chairman then wants me to look into as far as the government is concerned.
Okay. You were someone, and you've been asked questions by investigators concerning yes. A loan of $35 million US.
Yes.
That was acquired from Taiwan by the Armed Forces
yeah.
Provisional Ruling Council. Before we talk about the role, before that loan, did you deal with anything relating to the finances of the council or the government?
Before the loan, no. I have never been involved in any way in any kind of fiduciary responsibility as far as the Gambia government is concerned.
Tell us about this loan. How did it what was your involvement? How did you become involved, considering that you were a spokesperson, as you said, and
Yes.
there was a Minister of Finance? Tell us how you became involved.
Yes, ma'am. At one point, there was a gentleman called Abdullah Conte who approached the president.
Abdullah Conte?
Yes, Abdullah Conte. He's a Gambian American businessman. However, before going to Taiwan, we were trying very hard to get funds for the government. And Conte approached Jambi and told him about Taiwan, that it's possible if we recognize them.
Sorry. Can we confirm the name of the gentleman? Did you say Abdullah Conte? Confirm that again.
Sorry, Aliu Conte. That was my mistake. Aliu Conte.
Thank you.
I apologize for that.
Thank you.
Yes, it's Aliu Conte.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, Aliu Conte is the one that approached Yahya Jammeh and told him about the loan, about the Taiwanese. And then Jammeh called me and asked me, if I can help negotiate the re-establishment of the diplomatic relations. And I said, we discussed about the foreign policy ramifications of recognizing, China, because mainland China had a one China policy. So I told him, before going to Taiwan, why don't you give me a chance to go to mainland China and see if we can negotiate some help out from them, because consequently, once we cross that line and recognize the Republic of China, that is Taiwan, then automatically the mainland Chinese are going to break relations. So I told him to give me the opportunity to go to China in Beijing and try to negotiate and get some of the assistance that he wanted to see through the transition projects. So he granted me that chance, so I went to Beijing. Unfortunately, the Chinese just gave us empty promises and nothing came out of it. So he finally decided that he would send me as a special envoy to the Republic of China, that is Taiwan, to negotiate the re-establishment of diplomatic relations with the Republic of China. And that is how I get involved in the $35 million loan.
Right. You mentioned Aliu Conte. Who is
Yes.
Mr. Aliu Conte?
Aliu Conte, he calls himself a businessman, but if you ask my opinion, he's a con artist. And
He's a what?
he is a con artist. He's a criminal, if you ask me. That's my opinion. But he calls himself a businessman. But from my relationship with him, he roams around the world, willing and dealing, trying to make deals here and there in most African countries. And he is the one that really started the whole issue of the Taiwan issue, and subsequently the other $3 million and all that. I'm sure we will get into it later on. But that's all I know about Aliu Conte.
All right. As at the time, when did you first meet him? Let me ask that question first. When did you first meet Aliu Conte?
I met Aliu Conte, if I recall right, through the chairman. The chairman called me to his office and formally introduced me to Aliu Conte in his office. That's Chairman Yahya Jammeh.
All right. Now you said the chairman asked you, after your failed visit, as you called it, to China, then the chairman instructed you to pursue the $35 million loan. Can you tell us how you proceeded to do this, and what role you played, and what role Aliu Conte played, and who was in the delegation?
Yes, in the beginning, Conte told me that we can meet with the Taiwanese, off the records, at that time. And what he meant was the Taiwanese sent one of their intelligence officers, a person I remember, his name was Du Ling. Du Ling was an intelligence officer who was working with the Taiwanese intelligence, who happened to know Ali Conte, who was very good friends with Ali Conte. And I flew to Belgium, in Brussels, where Ali Conte was living, and I met Du Ling in Ali Conte's home in Brussels. And that's when I started the negotiation, and I explained to him that I understand that they can recognize, if we recognize them, they're going to provide us with loans, or they're going to give us like some money, because our government needs some funds so that we can implement some of the programs that we had for the transition. So he told me that's correct, that Ali Conte was their agent. He was working for the Taiwanese somehow, informally, in that kind of a relationship that he had with Ali Conte, because they've been friends for so long. So he said that he was somebody they trust, and if my government agrees, then yes, I would have to come to Taiwan, and then we make the formal re-establishment of diplomatic relations, and then they will be able to facilitate, the Taiwanese government will facilitate some amount of money, kind of a loan for the transition. So I went back to the Gambia from Brussels, and I reported back to Yaya Jammeh, Captain Jammeh. And then he told me that he has no problem, that I can go to Taiwan. But Jammeh swore in his office, he told me, if you go to Taiwan and you don't succeed with this mission, don't even come back to this country. Because if you come back here, you will be buried 6 feet deep. Now, I was stunned, and I said, well, I don't understand the threat, but I thought we were all working for the common good. He said, well, because the second time you're coming here with proposals, we sent you to China, you came back and said the Chinese don't have anything for us. So now you're going to Taiwan, and if you recognize Taiwan, then that means we're going to break relations with China. So you advise me on that. So if you don't succeed there, then it means maybe you are trying to undermine the FPRC. And I said, well, if that is the case, then wish me luck, and I will be informing you through the whole entire process what I'm going to be doing in Taipei. And if you give me your blessing, then we will know eventually what is going to be the case. So he gave me a special authority and designated me as a special envoy to renegotiate and to negotiate the re-establishment of diplomatic relationship between Gambia and the Republic of China. And on that mission, I was accompanied by Ali Conte, who was given a diplomatic passport, a Gambian diplomatic passport, as an ambassador at large. So myself and Ali Conte went to Taipei, and I started negotiation with the foreign minister of the Republic of China, who was Dr. Chen Fu. During our negotiations, they asked me how much is Gambia going to demand for establishment of the diplomatic relations. At first, Jammeh told me, gave me an absurd figure, almost about, I think, $70 million. And I pressed that figure to the Taiwanese. And the Taiwanese foreign minister told me, well, Mr. Jallow, we have to be honest with this, because we have recognized, we have a relationship with some African countries before. Most of these countries are much bigger countries. They have much larger population than the Gambia. Gambia is a very tiny country. There is no way we can give you 70 million when we have given, I think at that time, he told me about Liberia and Burkina Faso. He said, we have given them far less than that. And in consideration with the stature of your country and the amount of your population, we cannot justify that kind of money to our to our parliament. And I said, well, let me go back to my president and see how, if he accept or not. I went back to my hotel and I called Captain Jame.
Sorry, Mr. Jallow, did he give you a figure? Did the ambassador give you a figure?
You mean the Chinese foreign minister?
Yes.
No, in the beginning he never gave me a figure.
Okay.
But I gave him the figure of 70 million.
Yes,
but
I understand.
Which he refused. And then I went back to Jame and I called him from my hotel, and Jame told me, well, okay, well, negotiate for 50 million then. So I went back to the foreign ministry and started the negotiations again with Aliou Conte with me. And then the foreign minister said, look, Mr. Jallow, I know this is taking a long time. We've been here whole day trying to negotiate this, but unfortunately, we can only settle for $35 million. If you guys agree with 35 million, then we can proceed with the re-establishment of of the diplomatic relations. And I said, well, I cannot make that call, but I have to refer back to my boss and see what his opinion is. I went back to my hotel and I called Yaya Jammeh again. And I told him what the figures that they gave me, that they have finally decided to settle for 35 million, if he is going to consent to that. Well, Jammeh was furious. He said, well, you know, those guys, they have money, they can give or they can do more than that. But in any case, if they are sincere with their 35 million, well, I want them to give me right now $5 million cash, so that they can convince me that they are faithful and they are faithful to their commitment. And I said, okay, I will pass on the information. So I went back to the Chinese foreign ministry and I told the foreign minister that my head of state said that, yes, he agreed to the 35 million, but you guys have to show good faith, because we have not dealt with the Taiwanese before, and this is a very risky transaction we're doing, because if we lose China, if we recognize the Republic of China, then we're gonna lose our relationship with mainland China. And the president, the chairman told me he cannot afford to sacrifice that relationship for some empty promise. So I told him that the chairman insists that you give me the $5 million cash to show good faith. Now, if you cannot do that, then the deal is off. Well, the Chinese foreign minister was stunned. He said, this is his very words. He said, Mr. Jallow, I am 61 years old, but I have to tell you the truth. I myself, I have never seen that kind of money in my life. But in any case, we will see what we can do. So the Taiwanese foreign minister told me that they're going to go around the banks in Taipei to gather all that $5 million cash, so that they can hand it over to me once we recognize Taiwan. So we went ahead with the negotiation. We eventually recognized Taiwan, and then they gave me the $5 million cash at that time.
Okay, Mr. Jallow, let me just stop you there.
Yes.
Was that your first trip or your second trip? How many trips did you make to Taiwan before you were given this $5 million cash?
That was my first trip to Taiwan. Before, I was only going to Belgium and meeting the Taiwanese intelligence officer called Du Ling. He was the one doing the preliminary negotiations. So, but the first time I went to Taiwan is the time, very same day, I think I spent like 3 days there. That was the time that I received the $5 million cash.
Who was with you on the trip?
I was with Aliou Conte. We were the only two people there.
So what was his role whilst you were negotiating?
Like I said, Aliou Ali was granted, Jammeh granted him as an ambassador at large, and at the same time, he was the one that facilitated the re-establishment of the diplomatic relations, because he was the one talking to the Taiwanese. He is the one that introduced the Taiwanese to the Gambia government. So, and he knew Du Ling. Du Ling was his friend. Du Ling is the Taiwanese intelligence officer. Yes.
I understand. You had explained that. I just wanted to understand his role during the 3 days that you were meeting with the Taiwanese government this time, and not just the Mr. Du Ling, the intelligence officer. Did he play any role?
His role at that time, I know he was also talking to Yahya Jammeh, you know, without my presence. But at the same time, ultimately, he was the one that convinced me that I should call Jammeh, and he thinks that 35 million is a good deal. That role he played, I would say he was very instrumental in the establishment of the relationship.
So you were handed over $5 million cash. By who specifically on behalf of the Taiwanese government?
By the Taiwanese Foreign Ministry, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of China, who at that time, the Foreign Minister was Mr. Cheng Fu.
Okay. Now, to avoid confusion, let's use Taiwan for Taiwan.
Yes.
Now that now that we have recognized the Republic of China. Now,
yes.
So what happened after you received $5 million cash?
When I received the $5 million cash, I think I boarded an Air China flight myself and Aliou Conte. We flew from Taipei to Frankfurt in Germany, and from Germany we flew to Brussels, and I was at the lounge, in the VIP lounge, with the, you know, $5 million cash with Aliou Conte, and also at that time I think the Gambian representative, I think her name was Ajua Sow or something. She was there too. She came to greet me and make sure that I'm fine, everything is okay. And then from Brussels, I flew with, I think, Brussels Airline at that time, or Sabina, I can't remember the air flight, but I flew from Brussels to Banjul. And as soon as I arrived in Banjul, I went straight to the State House, and I handed over the $5 million cash to Chairman Jammeh, Yahya Jammeh, Captain Jammeh.
All right. Before we move on, if you could just clarify. So you could fly with $5 million cash on commercial flights? Just curious for you to explain.
Yes.
And what sort of case did you have that fits $5 million?
Yeah, I have this huge metal Samsonite with metallic color Samsonite briefcases. I think I had like about 3 of them, 3 or 4 of them, if I remember right. It was a very, madam, it was an experience. It was really, that's Yahya Jammeh. I mean, he is the one that requested for it and insist, and he threatened my life that if I don't come back with tangible results or the recognition and the money, I better not show up again in the Gambia. So.
All right. So you said you flew with 4 cases of money?
Yes.
On commercial flights?
They were all Georgia series, 100 stack of $100 notes. Georgia series, I remember very well. That was placed in these cases.
What series?
Huh?
What series did you say?
Georgia series.
Georgia
you know,
series.
all dollar bills, they have series. So it was a Georgia series.
All right. All right, let's carry on. I'm sure we may have further questions on that. So
Yes.
you said you went State to State House?
Yes.
Was Mr. Ebou
I
Jallow
went
still
State
with
House.
you, or did you travel alone?
Yeah, I was with Aliou. Aliou Conte was all along with me. He was there with me. We flew together. We went to the State House together, and I handed over the cash to the president, and the other council members were there also at the State House.
At the time, who were the council members, for the record? That
The
were
council
present?
members were Captain Edward Singate, Captain Yankuba Toure, Captain Kababayo, Captain Yaya Jame, and of course myself.
Was any civilian member of the council present when you handed over this cash?
No, at that time we had only one civilian member who is the Attorney General, but he only shows up during our formal council meetings. But he never, he wasn't there.
So you're saying that they were all present when you brought in these cases with $5 million?
Yes, they were present.
Okay. So tell us about that meeting. What happened to the $5 million?
Well, when I came with the cash, obviously everybody was elated. Everybody was so happy. And I think that occasion kind of endeared me to Yaya Jammeh. He felt that I did a fantastic job for the country. He commended me, and right then on, the issue became, well, what are we going to do with the money? And we wanted to deposit the money to the central bank, but Jammeh insisted that, well, we can deposit about 2.3 million dollars was deposited in cash, and he asked me and Captain Edward Singate to escort the cash to the central bank, and we escorted the cash to the central bank. That was like 2.3 million, and this was deposited. The central bank opened a special development account with the central bank. I think it was a number 816. Special development account was opened with the $2.3 million in cash, and myself and Captain Edward Singate were the ones that made that deposit to the central bank. But the remainder of about 2.7 million, that Yaya Jammeh retained in his custody until I left the Gambia. It was never deposited with the central bank, nor do I have any idea really to be sure what he did with the money.
Now let me just understand. You took $5 million and all the council members were present.
Yes.
How did he decide on what to deposit and what to retain? Because 2.3 seems to be an odd figure.
Yes.
So it's 2.7. So
yes.
how was the decision made to deposit 2.3 instead of 5 million?
I would say it was an arbitrary decision. He used his own discretion as the chairman. Naturally, he outranks all of us, and normally, in a military structure, he can make his decision. He can make a command that this is the way it's supposed to be. He decided that he is going to deposit the 2.3, and he retained the 2.7. Why?
Did he give any explanation?
As far as I recall, no. He has never given us any explanation.
Now,
as far as I know.
So who counted out 2.3 million?
It was Jammeh himself.
And all the council members were present?
Yes.
All right. You said you went to Central Bank and did you open the account on that date?
Not exactly on the date that I brought the money, but I think the next day, if I remember right, the day I escorted, and the central bank should have that record because it was opened with them. It was designated a number 816 Special Development Account. That was the name of the account.
So the money was not deposited the day you arrived?
No, it wasn't deposited the day I arrived.
It was kept overnight where?
It was kept with the chairman, Captain Yaya Jame, at the State House.
So you deposited 2.3 million?
Yes.
Let me just take you back a little bit. You said when you demanded cash,
Yes.
it was to say to the Taiwanese, my government says without this cash as a show of faith, good faith, we cannot recognize you. So tell us about the recognition. At what stage did Gambia recognize? Was it before or after the cash was paid over?
Well, after we had we have an understanding, after they agreed, the Taiwanese government agreed to give us the $35 million loan, then I told them that they have to sign a memorandum of understanding. And in the memorandum of understanding, I made certain demands. And these were all the demands that we negotiated prior to the re-establishment of diplomatic relations. And amongst them was that the Taiwanese government will provide us a $35 million loan. And also the Taiwanese government will provide us assistance with Cuban doctors, because we recognize that we were anticipating that as soon as we recognize Taiwan, then the Chinese mainland government are going to withdraw their doctors from the hospitals I think they were running in Bansan. So in order to preempt that kind of gap in our health sector, we included in the memorandum of understanding that the Taiwanese will facilitate Cuban doctors, and I think that was a point even that eventually Aliou Conte was negotiating with Captain Singate. They went eventually to Cuba to negotiate those doctors to come. So those are the items that were in the memorandum of understanding before the recognition that they should provide, the Taiwanese should provide a $35 million loan. They will also preempt the Chinese withdrawal from the health sector by providing us with Cuban doctors. And they were supposed to provide us also with technical assistance in terms of agriculture, particularly the Jahali Pacha rice project, if they can kind of resuscitate it again. And also, they were also supposed to provide scholarships for Gambian students to go to Taiwan to study in their various universities. So these were the items I negotiated with the Taiwanese government, and this is what I signed as a memorandum of understanding between the Gambia government and the Taiwanese government. Before the Taiwanese decided, before we all agreed, for the formal re-establishment of diplomatic relationship with Taiwan.
So when was this negotiated? Before the trip where you received the $5 million cash, or after? That's what is still not clear from your testimony.
Oh yeah, it was all concurrent during my first visit as a special envoy of the chairman of the APRC. It was all concurrent, the $35 million loan and the memorandum of understanding. It was the same day that all this was negotiated, and when they agreed, then the next day was the formal ceremony of signing ceremony and the handing over the $5 million cash.
Right. So the recognition was done whilst you were in Taiwan. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I was the one that signed the recognition treaty between the Gambia and Taiwan.
Now we came across a loan agreement for the $35 million.
Yeah, the loan agreement came after the re-establishment of diplomatic relations. I never signed any loan agreement. I only signed a memorandum of understanding that the Taiwanese will provide a grant of a loan of $35 million. But I never signed any loan agreement with the Taiwanese. That was the Minister of Finance, Balagabu Jahumpa, was the one that was about, I think a month later, that's when I went with Balagabo Jahumpa and Ali Conte for the signing ceremony. Because as soon as we recognized the Taiwanese government, the Taiwanese sent an ambassador to the Gambia. And the ambassador was working these technical details with the Minister of Finance before we went back to Taiwan to sign the loan agreement. And they were doing it with the Minister of Finance, not with me. I never signed any loan agreement on behalf of the Gambia, and I never negotiated any loan agreement on behalf of the Gambia. All I did was sign and negotiate for the Taiwanese government to provide us an assistance of $35 million, which was signed in the Memorandum of Understanding. A month later, after the Taiwanese were recognized, they already set an embassy in the Gambia. Their ambassador, I remember Mr. Victor, I remember his name very well, he was the one that was negotiating with the Minister of Finance prior to Bala Jahumpa even going to Taiwan to sign the loan agreement. So the loan agreement was negotiated and was signed by the Minister of Finance, not me.
Okay. All right. I'd just like you to clarify one issue. Now, Mr. Edward Singate
Yes.
gave evidence before this commission.
Yes.
And he said that, in fact, both him and Yankuba, Mr. Yankuba Toure, gave evidence, and they said they were under the impression or of the understanding that it was a grant that was being extended. In fact, Mr. Yankuba Toure specifically said that it was only when the loan went for ratification in 1997 to the National Assembly that he understood it to be a loan and not a grant. Did you, at the time that you reported back to the council, give the impression or indicate that what was being given was a grant and not a loan?
Madam, if they say that, they are either confused or they are deliberately lying to the commission. Because when I came back, I came with a memorandum of understanding which spells very clearly that the Taiwanese are going to provide us with a $35 million loan. It was spelled out very clear. That's number one. Number two, after the loan was negotiated between the Ministry of Finance and the Taiwanese Export-Import Bank, Exim Bank, the Export-Import Bank, they're the ones that provide this loan. The Taiwanese government, the foreign ministry, only underwrote, they underwrite the loan agreement to facilitate the loan. But the loan was granted by the Export-Import Bank. And after the loan was provided, was sent to us through wire transfer, the Export-Import Bank wrote back to the Gambian government asking them to acknowledge receipt of the loan. And in that acknowledgement, myself and Captain Edward Singate both signed, and I think I provided that document to you guys. We signed saying very clearly that this was a loan with a number. If you look at the documents I provide, you probably see it there, very clearly written.
I wish you to clarify that. Now, the second issue, of course, is the deposit of the $2.3 million in the bank and into the account opened at the central bank.
Yes.
Edward Singate categorically stated before this commission that he did not accompany you to deposit any money into the central bank, and that if he had, he would remember, but I cannot remember ever seeing $2 million in his life. What is your reaction to that?
Madam Counsel, if he said that, he is flat out telling you a lie. He is categorically lying to you, or maybe he's suffering from selective amnesia. It cannot be beyond the two, because I was with him, and I know very well we were together. We both deposited that amount to the central bank. I was with him, he escorted me together. So if he's saying that, I will put it to you that he is deliberately lying to the commission. I can tell you that.
Right. Now, you had mentioned a document you had given to us. I'm sure you might have a copy. I just want you to confirm
Yes.
that you have provided a copy of a letter written from the Office of the Chairman, State House, Banjul, dated August 23rd, 1995,
Yes.
marked strictly confidential, addressed to the Governor, Central Bank of the Gambia.
Yes.
And it's entitled Reconfirmation of Loan Proceeds, US dollars 35 million loan agreement, number 60204830001, dated August 9, 1995.
Yes.
And between the Export-Import Bank of the Republic of China, the lender, and the Republic of the Gambia, the borrower. One,
Yes.
we refer to the copy of the telex on the above subject referred to the Office of the Chairman. Two, on the basis of the submission, you are advised as follows. A, the initial drawdown of $5 million was received in cash on behalf of the AFPRC. And
Yes.
B, the second drawdown for 30 million United States dollars paid into GOTG Special Development Account number 1611642 with Citibank,
Yes.
New York. 3, you are therefore instructed to officially confirm that the receipts of the loan proceeds to Exim Bank of Republic of China and copied to MOFA of ROC and this office.
Yes.
Then it's typed HE Captain Edward Singate, Vice Chairman, Captain Ebou Jallow, Member, AFPRC. This document that you provided is not signed.
Yes. Yeah, it is a copy, is an exact replica copy that was sent to the Taiwanese government. I happen to have that, a blank copy, but it is an exact copy that was sent to the Taiwanese government through the central bank and also copied to the central bank. So the Gambia government should have the record.
All right, I'm going to be applying shortly to have it admitted since you confirmed that that is a document that you gave us in relation to the monies that we are received from Taiwan.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Jallow, you were signatory to this special account at the central bank.
Yes.
Mr. Edward Singate says that he never made any payment or authorized any payment from, never signed for or made any payment or authorized any payment from this account. And he withdrew his signature from the account because he did not think it was appropriate for him to be signatory to such an account. I would like your reaction to that, if you have any, before we proceed.
Well, I don't know when he withdrew his signature from the account because I left. But at the material time, when the account was opened, we both had signatures toward the account.
Did you, together with Mr. Edward Singate, make any payments or authorize any payments from the said account?
Yes. At one point, I recall we made a payment of roughly approximately about $2 million to one Topanga, Tough Construction. I recall that very, very well. And I was the one who gave Topanga that check. And obviously, there was no way they can honor one signature for that check to be cashed. It has to get two signatures. So, yes, he was signatory to that check. So I don't understand why he's saying what he said.
What was the purpose of the payment to Tafanjai, as you call it?
Honestly, I cannot recall at this time. It's been a long time, but I know there was some kind of a construction or some kind of a project that the government wants him to do for us, and he was cut that check. Maybe he can recollect, maybe in his records, he'll be able to clarify that. But I know for sure that I gave him a check of more than $1 million plus at that time in '95.
Okay, tell us how this account was operated. Whilst you were signatory to the account, what payments were made from the account, apart from this one?
If I recall right, that was the only payment we have ever made out of that account.
Okay. Mr. Jallow,
yes.
You were accused, you
yes.
subsequently resigned.
Yes.
You have sent a document indicating that this was your resignation letter.
Yes.
Well, it's longish. I do have a copy here.
Yes.
We'll come back to it. Now, this was on the 12th of October, 1995.
Yes.
Right. You were then accused by the AFPRC of the theft of 3 million United States dollars. Can you tell us about this 3 million United States dollars? Did you authorize the transfer of 3 million United States dollars from the Central Bank of the Gambia to an account in your name in Geneva?
Madam Counsel, the answer is flat out no. The chairman of the APRC is the one that authorized the transfer, and the money was not transferred to my account. It was sent to Philip Bidawit, who is the chairman's, Yaya Jammeh's private banker with the bank Credit Lyonnais. And this transaction was clearly reflected in the memorandum account entry on the 4th of September. This was almost a month before I left the Gambia. That was when the money was transferred. And it was not transferred to me. It was paid to Philip Bidawit. It's written there very clearly. And I'm amazed why the Gambia government never produced that document. It was never paid to me. I never transferred the money. Central Bank transferred the money. And it was authorized by Yaya Jammeh. There is no way anybody can transfer that. I can transfer that amount of money from a city bank. I don't have access to the city bank. Central Bank has access to the city bank. Central Bank transfers money out of the city bank account. And if you reflect, I gave you a document which shows very clearly how that account is supposed to be treated. If we want to make any kind of transaction from the Citibank account in New York, the office of the chairman will write a letter to the central bank giving them instructions on where to make the payment and to whom. And this is exactly what I did as a member of council. I wrote a memo reflecting the intentions of Captain Yaya Jammeh to transfer that money from the Citibank account to his banker, Philip Bidawit, in Credit Lyonnais in Switzerland. And I think I've shown you the memorandum account entry that was made by the accountant of the central bank and the general manager. They both signed that document, and I think you have a copy.
Let me just refer you to, I'm sure you have a copy just for identification purposes, and I will apply to have it admitted. You
Yes.
you have provided to us a document from the central bank.
Yes.
To the office of the chairman, State House, dated 4th September 1995, which
Yes.
states we have debited your account, I believe this is number 816 today, as follows. Particulars, $3 million paid to Mr. Philip Bidawit,
Yes.
and in figures equivalent of $28,830,000,
Yes.
and it's signed by Manager Banking, Management Services, and Chief Accountant. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, that reflected the transaction.
All right.
But prior to that transaction, the governor himself called me and asked me, well, Mr. Jallow, what is the purpose of this transfer? I said, well, I don't know. If you want to know, call the chairman and let the chairman explain to you. Because I just told me to write this letter, and I did, and I hope he can clarify that. So
Wow.
the governor at that time, I think Mr. Clark Bajo, called the chairman and then later gave his blessing to the accountant of the central bank and the general service manager to effect the transaction. So they all know about this transaction. It was not a secret. It was never hidden. There is nothing mysterious about this transfer. Absolutely nothing.
Can you tell us about Mr. Philip Bidawi? Because you have also provided
Yes.
a memo from Credit Lyonnais, Swiss Genève.
Yes.
It's a telefax cover. It's on a telefax. It's a telefax message from
Yes.
Philip Bidawi with the fax number and phone number to Captain Ebou Jallow. But this one is dated August 23rd, 1995. Before the instructions of 4th September 1995.
Yes.
And it says, with reference to our phone calls of yesterday, I'll be arriving next Swiss Air it must be Swiss Air flight mentioned in my previous fax.
Yes.
To make my trip more official and swift as per your request, please, you have the copy there, I'm
Yes.
sure. It should be, please see copies of the account opening documentation for the concerned person. I kindly ask you to study them, and on my arrival, we will have the meeting as soon as you desire and can complete all the formalities same evening, which will enable me to take the next flight to Geneva. Hope to see all of you next Friday. Best regards, signed, Philip Bidawi. Now, this was
Yes.
August 23rd, 1995. Can
Yes.
you tell us about this fax? Because it seems you were in communication with this gentleman, and he
Yes.
was supposed to arrive to open an account.
Yes. Philip Bidawi is a friend of Aliou Conte. Came together and learned that they were good friends. They've known each other at that time for almost more than 15, 20 years. Jammeh wanted to open an account with Credit Lyonnais, and I think it was Conte who introduced Philip to Jammeh. So Jammeh asked Philip to coordinate with me so that I can receive him at the airport. So that's the reason for all the communication. You see Philip sending me fax explaining that he's going to come. I remember that day he came, if I could collect right, I think it was either on a Friday or a Saturday. He came with a Swiss flight at night. I picked him up at the airport, at the Banjul airport. And on that night, there was a religious ceremony. I think they have this annual State House Gamo at that time. And I drove him straight from the airport. Excuse me. Excuse me, madam. I drove him from the airport to the State House. So by the end of the ceremony, I escorted him to the residence, the State House residence of the chairman. So then in my presence, he brought some documents for opening accounts. Philip Bidawi is an account private, he's a private banking, he's a private bank manager of Credit Lyonnais. He opened a private account for Yaya Jammeh in my presence. I was sitting right down. They signed the formalities and the paperwork. I was present. Private accounts normally is a private number account that was signed, and I think it was code 1960. I did provide you guys with the account number.
The account number you mentioned in the statement you sent to us, it's an unsigned statement.
Yes.
I'll subsequently request that you sign it after your testimony.
Yes.
You mentioned a private number account 00128544.
Mm-hmm.
0.6.002001,
Yes.
code 1960
Yes.
at Credit Lyonnais Suisse SA. Is that the
Yes.
account number?
Yes, that's a private number account.
Mm-hmm.
And the way private number accounts work in Geneva, if, for example, Jammeh wants to effect a transaction, all he has to do is make a phone call to the private bank manager. Or if he wants to receive money to the account, the private bank manager can generate a fake number, a false number, a temporary number, which only exists solely for the purpose of that transaction. As soon as the money arrives in the bank, that number doesn't exist anymore. And that's the number, that's how the $3 million was transferred. But however, it was specifically made to Philip Bidawi. That's why his name appeared on that memorandum account entry. And the money was for Yaya Jammeh. The $3 million was for Yaya Jammeh. It was not transferred to me or to any other account, but for Yaya Jammeh.
So when the account was opened that day that Philip Bidawi arrived, was any cash handed over to Philip Bidawi?
I think so. I think he gave him some cash in my presence, yes. I don't know how much, but I remember, I think he gave him some cash, if I remember right. I think he gave him some cash, if I remember right.
Mr. Jallow, you were accused of stealing $3 million.
Yes.
And can you tell us your connection to that account and why you were accused of stealing $3 million?
Okay, thank you, madam. When the $3 million was transferred, Jammeh told me to go to Swiss. I think like a day or two later. And then he gave me a fiduciary power of attorney to his account. And then he told me, go to the bank and go to Philip Bidawi, and he will give you the $3 million that was transferred. And I said, well, Mr. Chairman, what is this for? He said, well, don't worry, just go and he will give you the money, and I will contact you later in your hotel. We will talk about it. So I went to Switzerland, I went to Geneva, and I went to the bank manager's office, Philip Bidawi. So when I arrived at the bank, and I told him, well, I showed him the power of attorney, and I gave him the power of attorney that the chairman gave me. And I said, Yaya Jammeh asked me to withdraw in cash in $1 notes from the money that was transferred here in his account. He said, well, according to our bank procedures, I have to confirm, and I have to call the chairman to confirm that he authorized you to receive this money. Now, he escorted me to his office. In his office, they have some kind of like a voice synthesizer, voice recognition, and a tape recorder. And he called the chairman in my presence, and then he put it on speakerphone, and I heard the chairman tell him, he authorized him that yes, he is the one that wants me to withdraw the money from Philip Bidawi. Because the money was transferred to Philip Bidawi, and Philip Bidawi was authorized by the chairman to give me the $3 million in cash, in $1 notes. In that conversation, the bank was recording the conversation, because naturally that's how they operate. Because you don't need to sign checks or anything if you want to effect transfer if you have a private number account, because they want to guarantee your privacy and your anonymity. That was the reason why they have to do or go through all these procedures. So he explained to me, and I was a little curious because I was like, well, you don't trust me, why would I lie for the chairman and all that? He said, no, Mr. Jallow, I have to do this for your own protection for tomorrow. And I thank God he did, because when he gave me the money, I went to my bank, my hotel. I was staying at, I think, Hilton, Geneva. And then I called the chairman and I said, well, I have received 3 million. It is right here in my hotel room. It is a lot of cash because it's in $1 note. And I don't know what to do with it, you know, because this is not safe. He said, don't worry, Aliou Conte is going to come to your room with some people. About an hour later, Aliou Conte came with 2 other individuals. One was Mamadi Jani, a Guinean American who subsequently became kind of like my friend. And the other was Jean-Francois Guillet. He's a French guy, a French national. So when they came to my room, I called Jame and I said, well, Aliou Conte is right here in my room. And the people, and I think he came with 2 people. So what do I do next? He said, well, good. Well, let me talk to Conte. So he spoke to Conte on the phone, and then Conte gave me back my phone, and I told him, well, what do you want me to do? He said, well, give $1 million to Jean-Francois Guillet, and then he is going to give you in return some items in sealed cases, and I want you and Guillet to come, and Aliou and Mamadi, all of you guys, I want you guys to come back to the Gambia with the cases. Now, I said no problem. So I paid from the $3 million. I paid $1 million to Jean-Francois Guillet. $1 million in cash was paid to Jean-Francois Guillet. Then I went to the Swiss airport in Geneva and hired a private jet from the air leasing company. I cannot recall how much I paid for it, but from the remaining $2 million, I paid for that, to lease that air flight from Geneva to Banjul. So I took the flight with Jean-Francois Guillet and another Malian guy. I cannot recall his name, but he was somebody that Mamadi told me he's going to escort us. So we boarded the flight with the remaining money in cash and the sealed cases, about 2 of them, if I recall right, 2 sealed cases. We boarded the flight, flew from Geneva to Banjul. When we arrived in Banjul, we went straight to the State House, and I read the account entirely to Yaya Jammeh, Captain Jammeh, the cases, and the remainder of the cash that I had in my possession. I surrendered everything to the chairman. Now, Guillet was staying with, I think at one point he was staying at Aliou Conte's house. And then the next day, Yaya Jammeh told me that, do you know what is in those cakes? I said, well, Mr. Chairman, I have no idea. You promised that you're going to explain to me what is all this about. I've been moving money from one continent to another continent. I have no clue. And I just take it in good faith that this must be some kind of a classified transaction. And I understand. I'm a soldier. I can understand at that level, maybe this is an operation that is ongoing, but I hope that one day you will enlighten me about what I'm getting involved in. And he said, well, the reason why we brought made these payments and this cash, we are going to use it to counterfeit United States dollar bills. And I said, are you serious? He said, yes. He said, but the guy that you came with, Jean-Francois Guillet, he is the technician. And we have everything we need right now, but there was only the machine that has to come from Europe. And I think Conte is going to work with that, and we will bring that machine. And when we bring the machine, then we can start printing this U.S. counterfeit dollars. And I said, wow, okay. You know, it was really shocking to me, but this was the reason why the money was transferred to counterfeit United States dollars. So the next day I called Ali Conte and I said, Conte, I want you to tell me what is going on with this, because the chairman told me that you know about this and you were the one who advised him about this. Can you enlighten me, because I'm really confused. How can anybody do that? He said, no, I can promise you, I know these guys. The machine is going to come from some Iranians who used to work for the Mossad, not the Mossad, I think the Savak they call them. This was the intelligence agency of the former Shah of Iran. He said these guys, they were given this machine at that time by the U.S. government to counterfeit U.S. currency, and it has almost 99% accuracy. This was according to Conte. This is what he told me. And I said, wow, this is really bizarre to me. It is shocking, and honestly, I don't understand. I have no idea, how this all transacted in the first place, because Jammeh never discussed this idea to me until after I came back from to the Gambia with this cash. That was the time I started thinking seriously of leaving that country, because knowing Jammeh and the amount of atrocities that the APRC have already committed, and the mendacity of that APRC itself, there was no way I could have survived with that kind of knowledge, with my total disagreement with what was going on. So I decided in October to leave and seek asylum outside the Gambia.
Let me just clarify some things for the record. You mentioned some names, and the record must be able to show the correct spelling of those names. First, yes. Juling, how do you spell Juling, the Taiwanese intelligence agent?
Oh, Duling. Duling, I think the first name is Du, is spelled D-U. D-U. Mm-hmm. And Ling is spelled L-I-N-G. Du Ling. He was a Taiwanese intelligence officer.
Dr. Cheng Fu?
Cheng Fu.
Cheng Fu. Can you spell it? It's C-H-E-N-G, I presume?
C-H-E-N-G F-U. He was the Minister of Foreign Affairs at that material time.
Mamadi Jani?
Mamadi is spelled M-A-M-A-D-I, and the last name is Jane. Is pronounced like we call Jane in Gambia, but it's spelled with the French D-I-A-N-E. He's a Guinean from Guinea-Conakry, but an American citizen.
Did he come with you, Mr. Jane? Did he come with you to the Gambia?
Yes, he came to the Gambia.
To escort the cases?
Yes, he came. No, he came a flight after. He took his own flight. He didn't come with the private jet. He sent one of his, he called him his lieutenant. He's a Malian guy. I really don't remember his name, but he came with a Malian guy, and he sent that Malian guy with me to escort the escort Mr. Jean-Francois Guillet and the 2 million plus, actually less than 2 million cash, and the case in the airplane.
Can you spell the Guillet? Jean-Francois, I presume is J-E-A-N.
Yes, Guillet is spelled G as in golf, G-U-I-L-L-E-T. Guillet.
Okay, now you mentioned the Iranian intelligence? Did you call them the Iranian intelligence? What is the name you referred to?
They were former members of the Sabak. Sabak used to be an intelligence agency of the Shah of Iran.
Can you spell it?
Sabak is spelled S-A-V-A-K.
All right. Now, you said you resigned, and you have sent us a copy of your resignation letter.
Yes.
It's 2 pages, so I won't read it, but it's dated 12 October 1995.
Yes.
Addressed to HE, the Chairman, Head of State, Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council. Resignation of Captain Ebou Jallow, AFPRC, that's the heading.
Yes.
And you copied it to all foreign missions, Gambia, all Gambian press.
Yes.
At the time, where were you when you resigned?
I was in the United States. I resigned as soon as I felt myself secure to send the resignation. And this was in October, well before the 3 million was transferred to Philippines. So I felt at that time, with all the things that was happening with the council and the atrocities that I mentioned in that resignation letter, my conscience wouldn't allow me anymore to serve with the AFPRC, which I believe was a total criminal syndicate. So that was when I formally decided to send that letter to. In fact, I sent it to all the media houses, which at that time I think they were probably scared to publish it because it was a dictatorship going on. But I also sent it to all the embassies in the Gambia, to U.S. embassy, the British embassy, and I think the Senegalese embassy also.
Now, in the reasons you gave, you gave 4 reasons. And A referred to the unbridled, arrogant attitude of the Vice Chairman, Captain Edward Singate.
Yes.
And referring to his stifling of a private company, TK Motors. The second was, you said, the attempted kidnapping and unwarranted arrest of Wajuar.
Yes.
The third, you said, was the stabbing of Dr. Omar Jai by the henchmen of the Vice Chairman.
Absolutely,
And the fourth was the intentional oversight and failure to bring to justice the perpetrators of Usman Koro Sisse's death, of whom you said the chairman was fully aware.
Yes.
Now, you never mentioned anything regarding money, but at this time, it was clear to you, according to the narrative you have just given us, that the ex-president, the chairman at the time, was transferring public funds to his personal account. How come you did not mention the fact that he was transferring public funds into his personal account in Switzerland?
I did not mention it because, like I said, it was a classified transaction. And however, when I came to the U.S., the first thing I did was to inform the U.S. authorities of what Yahya Jammeh was doing and the transaction and everything else that I did not mention in the letter, because they were also conducting their own investigation from this side. So that's why I deliberately did not mention that in the letter. But yes, it was involved. I informed that to the authorities, and of course, with the nature of the circumstances of the transfer, I think it is prudent to give a chance to whoever has authority to investigate, to have a look into the issue first before making it public, because of the nature of the transaction. So that's why it wasn't mentioned there. But of course, the cardinal issues that matter most, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as the reason, one of the reasons why, is of course, yes, the atrocities that I enumerated in the letter, especially the death of Korosise, which everybody knew about in the council, and we know who did it, and the chairman, Yahya Jammeh, knew who did it, and we had bitter arguments about it, and I felt that, look, if I do not go public with this, which was done under my watch as a spokesman, I have to come clean and come clear to the Gambian public so they know what was going on.
Mr. Jallow, when did you actually leave? Your resignation is dated 12 October 1995. What date did you leave the Gambia?
I believe I left around the first week of October. I would say the 3rd, the 3rd of October. 3rd or 4th, I can't remember exactly. Yes.
Let's talk about Switzerland. You left, you said you went to DC. Did you go through Switzerland when you were going to Washington, DC?
Yes, I flew, I think it was a flight to Switzerland, from Switzerland to Belgium, then from Belgium to Chicago.
Why did you go to Switzerland?
I think that was the only flight that was available at that time. I mean, there was only that flight, there was only, I think, one flight that goes straight from Banjul to Geneva, if I remember right at that time.
Now, when you were accused of the theft of $3 million, a complaint was actually lodged to the authorities in Switzerland.
Yes.
And interim orders were given for the freezing of accounts in Switzerland, and these accounts were in your name. Can you explain?
Okay. When I left, and of course, after I wrote my resignation letter, this was after, not before. After I wrote my resignation letter, and of course, the APRC felt upon themselves to retaliate. And the best way, I think, and I think it was all coordinated by Edward Singare, who was completely not aware of a lot of things that was going on behind the scenes. They requested what they call a judicial assistance with the Swiss government to block, due to a transaction that was made to Swiss account to a Swiss account in Credit Lyonnais, to block that transaction. And based on the judicial assistance, the Gambia government made allegations, of course, and they made a charge sheet signed by the Inspector General of Police that I stole $3 million from the Central Bank of the Gambia. And based on that judicial assistance between the two, Gambia and Switzerland, they requested the bank to freeze or block all accounts that was bearing my name. Well, for Yaya Jammeh, unfortunately, the account that bore my name was his account, because I had a fiduciary power of attorney to that account. So Yaya Jammeh's account was blocked inadvertently. Inadvertently, it was blocked based on the request made by the Gambia government. The Gambia government initiated a criminal procedure against me. However, because of the fact that I had a power of attorney to Yaya Jammeh's account, Yaya Jammeh turned around and made a civil procedure. So there were two distinct procedures against me. One was a criminal one requested by the state, and there was another civil procedure requested by Yaya Jammeh by the fact that I have a power of attorney to his account. I think he was trying to secure the funds. He thought probably I might take the money out of his account because I had the power of attorney to do so. So they go to the office de poursuite et de fallette, which is kind of like a different agency, to sequester the funds. So the funds was blocked due to the judicial assistance requested by the Gambia, the state of the Gambia. At the same time, it was sequestered at the same time. So these two procedures were concurrent against the account owned by Yaya Jammeh, which I happen to have a power of attorney until they revoke it. So this is how the issue with Switzerland started.
As at the time the request was made to block the account, what transaction were they trying to block? Because at that time, the $3 million that was transferred had gone into this account that was opened specifically, you said, and you had received the money in $1 bills. And this is October we are talking about. So what transaction occurred that they were trying to block?
Like I said, Yaya Jammeh knew he knew, but I don't think the Attorney General and the governor and everybody else, nobody else knew that he has an account and that the fact that the money was transferred to his account. He knows that, but the people who went to Geneva didn't know that. They have no idea. They thought that this was an account I owned. No, the money was clearly paid to Philip Bidawit, and in fact, Philip did testify that on the oath in a court in Switzerland when the issue went to court. And the judge has ruled very clearly that I have committed no infraction of the law. And this court was tried under Gambian law.
I'm just trying to understand.
I want to come in here. Now, I understand there was a lot of legal tussle in Switzerland over these monies. Is it true that there were several rulings by the Swiss courts?
Yes, like I said, there were two distinct legal procedures, one criminal and one civil. The criminal case was decided absolutely conclusively by the judge, Madam Secretary, and I think I sent you guys, I sent the commission a copy of the judgment, which stated clearly that I committed no infraction of the law, and that was the judicial assistance that was requested by the state of the Gambia against me in Switzerland. Now, that judgment was appealed all the way to the Supreme Court of Switzerland. But the Supreme Court of Switzerland upheld the ruling of the magistrate. That ruling and that decision is distinguished, is different from the civil procedure that was initiated by Yaya Jammeh with his lawyer, Dante Canonica. Dante Canonica was Yaya Jammeh's lawyer, and I think he was being assisted by Mr. Fawd Said, who's a very wealthy, I think he's a Lebanese, who was also, I think, the consulate for the Gambia, who was working with Yaya Jammeh. That procedure was entirely different. And the reason was because that procedure initiated a sequestration procedure to sequester the funds that was in Yaya Jammeh's account, because I had a power of attorney. Naturally, they have to make sure they do these two concurrent procedures at the same time, so that this is Jammeh's strategy, so that he can secure the funds. That's why you have these two distinguished cases, but they are kind of related, but they are separate, different procedures.
I appreciate the difference between civil and criminal proceedings.
Yes.
But that's not the question. The question is very simple. Do you have certified copies of the rulings in either the civil proceedings or the criminal proceedings, or both?
Yes, I have a ruling of the criminal proceeding, which I sent to the commission. The commission should have that in your possession by now. I gave you a copy of the judgment.
Is it a certified copy? By that, I mean, does it bear the stamp of the court that gave the ruling?
It's all certified, the stamp. It was handed to me by my lawyer, Elizabeth Dougherty, from Geneva. But at the same time, the state, since it was initiated by the state of the Gambia, it shouldn't be difficult for the state of the Gambia to contact the judiciary in Switzerland to verify that judgment. It's not going to be that hard.
Okay. How about the civil proceedings? Do you have a copy?
The civil proceeding was ongoing. Yes, the civil proceeding was ongoing for years, and with multiple procedures, almost 17 procedures, I would say, within the civil case. Ultimately, I changed lawyers. The initial lawyer, the person who was helping me with the criminal case, was Elizabeth Dougherty. She was being financed by a friend of mine, a Nigerian businessman called what they call again, Antonio Fernandez. He passed away. He was a multi-billionaire, a very wealthy guy who was friends to Mamadi. Mamadi introduced him to me, and he decided to help me fight the criminal case. However, the civil case, after I won, I had the victory from the criminal case. I was done with it, but Aliou Conte came and said, you know what, we can get money, we can get Yaya Jammeh's money. So we have to pursue on the civil case, and I'm going to pay for it, and then we will get that money. And I said, well, it's up to you. So I gave him authority to make payments to a lawyer called Jean Patry, with Patry and Gamor, and Aliou Conte was the one who was pursuing the civil case ultimately. Now, at the end of the day, I have no idea how that case ended because Conte cut off relationship with me. He never spoke with me again. I have no way to contact him. So if you want to know the findings, the end, how that civil procedure ended, the person you need to ask is really Aliou Conte. He was the one that financed it. I gave him authority through my attorney at that time because he was paying for it under very difficult circumstances, I would say, because I went there and I was dropped in Switzerland, and the police came to my hotel room and arrested me for God knows what, and then I was released. And then as soon as I went back to the lawyer with Aliou Conte, they gave me a document that kind of coerced me to sign it. So Aliou Conte was the one that was finally pursuing the civil case. So I have no idea how that ended, to be honest with you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Counsel, you may continue.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Jallow, what money are you talking about? As far as we know, the 3 million that was deposited through Philip Bidawit was totally withdrawn.
Yes.
What other money was being protected by the freezing order?
Yaya Jammeh, when I had the power of attorney to his account and went to the bank to withdraw the 3 million, Philip Bidawit clearly showed me the account balance left in Yaya Jammeh's account. It was more than $3 million left there. That has nothing to do with the 3 million that was withdrawn.
How much money were you shown?
Yeah, I had access to it. He showed me the bank balance of Yaya Jammeh's bank balance. Like I said, he had a private number account. And because of he gave me a power of attorney to that account. When they requested for the Swiss authorities to block accounts in Credit Lyonnais, they froze all accounts that were affiliated with my name. Because I have power attorney, naturally Yaya Jammeh's account was blocked too. But the people who made the request had no idea. Neither the Minister of Justice, maybe Edward Singati knew, I think he knows, but he's not going to admit it.
Did you know how much money was in the account at the time of the freezing order?
It was a very little less than $3 million. I would say about 2,900,000, if I recall right, was in that account.
Okay. Now, you said you took money to the president in front of the other council members. Mr. Yankuba Toure said there was no cash. Was he present?
When I came from Taiwan?
Yes.
If I recall right, yes.
Was he in the room when you walked in with the briefcase of money or the briefcases?
Yes. All of them were present. All the council members were present. If I recall right, all of them were there.
Okay. Now, you call them a criminal syndicate.
Yes.
What took you so long to resign? Because right from the Taiwan trip, you knew you were not working with people of integrity.
Yes.
What took you so long to resign?
I don't know what you mean took me so long, but I remember when I started having real problems with the council is when I discovered the murder of Kurosise. And this was like towards the end of July. And the chairman promised me that he was going to do due due diligence, and I was expecting that he was going to prosecute Edward Singate. We agreed in principle. Myself, Kababajo was sitting down. I told him I don't want to have anything to do with this. You either have to prosecute him, or I will have to leave the council. Now, this was ongoing conversation that I was having with Jammeh from July, August until around August. But then when I finally made this transaction, I know that, look, this is really getting way out of hand, and with their history of atrocities and the way that people have been disappeared,
let's focus on finance. You brought in 5 million, 2.3
yes.
was taken to the central bank, 2.7 yes. was left overnight at the State House.
Yes.
Edward Singate denied accompanying you for the deposit.
Well, he lied.
Yeah, that's fine. But just that situation, did that situation convince you you were dealing with people? This was a loan in the name of the country. And
yes.
you were asked to leave 2.7, never to
yes.
be accounted for, in the name yes. of the president, in front of the council members, and they were all okay with you leaving 2.7 with the former president?
Well, it was accounted for because we know that he is the custodian of the money. So we know who to ask.
What did he do with the money?
Huh?
If it was accounted for, what did he do with the 2.7?
To be honest with you, sir, I have no idea what he did.
So it was not accounted for?
I believe he diverted that funds to his account in Switzerland. That's what I strongly believe. But I have no direct evidence.
And you still went ahead on a few trips to bring him printing machines to do counterfeiting?
Well, when I went to Switzerland, I had no idea that I was going to bring some counterfeiting equipment. I knew about that after the fact.
Mr. Jallow, who collects $3 million in $1 bills?
Who collects it?
Apart from people working in casinos and dealers, who collects $3 million in $1 bills?
Well, anybody can do it. That's up to the person's discretion. There is no that say you can receive $3 million. I have never seen it. That's up to any person's individual discretion. If the chairman, the head of state, told me go and receive $3 million cash from this bank, I go and receive it. It's a direct order.
Yeah, but in $1 bills, you were asked to collect it in $1 notes. That didn't yes. tell you something?
Well, it's funny. It sounds really absurd. Yes, but that doesn't constitute a crime or something wrong or inappropriate. I know it was really strange and funny. I have no idea why he wants to do it, but I'm like, okay, eventually, one way or the other, I will know the facts. But when I learned about what he wanted to do, that's when I decided, look, it's about time to leave.
Now, but it was okay for you to be asked to withdraw $3 million and then buy seal cases that you couldn't explain? That also didn't sound like a crime to you? $3 million?
I was told to make a payment and receive cases in return. Now, I don't know where you're trying to head at with your line of questioning, sir, but I was just giving instruction, pay money, 1 million, and receive this and bring it back to Gambia. And that's exactly what I did. There was nothing wrong or illegal in that. Absolutely not.
Now, we're coming back to why it took you so long to resign. I'm trying to give you examples of yes. strange situations that should have signaled to you.
I explained that I was having concurrent conversation between the time that Kuro was murdered until the time I left. But subsequently, after the transaction of the 3 million, and I came back to the Gambia, and Jammeh explained to me the purpose of the 3 million, that was the time I decided that I should leave. And this is just about time in October. Now, I got to make sure that I am safe, because I am not going to do something risky that's going to put my life in danger. I have to negotiate a better time to leave the country. I just cannot pick any random date and do that, because I know the nature of that government. It was a criminal government. They have committed multiple murders that I know about. Koro Sise is one. Sadibu Sise is another. Sadibu Haidara is another person. They were murdered, and they know it, and I know what they do, and I know they were steeped in mendacity. I am not going to risk my life, but because of some moral calculation. No, I have to check what is best for me and the best time for me to live, and that's exactly what I did.
We don't know how a ruling council works, so please try and explain to us. Do you join a ruling council as a member to follow instructions or to participate in uplifting your nation? Why did you become a spokesperson? Was it just to follow rules or to understand every step of the way what you are doing?
I think the question about why is not an issue here. The question is, how did I become a council member? I was appointed. I did not overthrow the previous government. I did not abrogate the previous 1970 Constitution. I was studying at Newport, Rhode Island at the U.S. Naval War College. When I came back, finished my studies, I continued my job that I was assigned by the previous administration. They called me and invited me and appointed me as a member of the council. The way I see it, they were the only authority in town. The previous constitution was thrown out the window. There was no law. The law was the APRC. They made the law and they execute the law. Now, yes, my understanding was I am doing a national service. But as a military officer, and I was still retaining my uniform, I was still retaining my rank, and I saw myself as a member of the Gambia Armed Forces. The APRC was at the apex of the security structure of the country. I am more than qualified to sit, I have a chair in that table, because I am a member of the Gambian National Army. I saw the APRC as a military structure with a chain of command. The chain of command runs from the chairman, the vice chairman, and the members of the council. And that's how we operate in the military. We follow orders. Like we always say, we follow orders or people die, because we don't have time to be arguing with your commander. You are giving an order, a direct order. The commander has a better perspective of what is going on and had a broader strategy of what he wants to achieve. If things go wrong, as long as the order is legit, is legal, there is nothing illegal about the order, you are obliged to execute that order as a member of the Gambia Armed Forces. And that's exactly what I did. When they invited me, I see myself as somebody transitioning from one appointment as commanding officer of the Gambia Marine to the apex of the security structure of the Gambia. And that is the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council. And that's how I see it.
And the orders included contracting a loan from Taiwan and spending it anyhow the AFPRC chose?
I never contract, sir, I want to make this very categorically clear. I, Ebou Jallow, never contracted any loan for the Gambia government. Never. I never did that. All I did was negotiate the re-establishment of diplomatic relations. During the negotiation, we had a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Taiwan. In the memorandum of understanding, we have an agreement, an understanding that they will facilitate a $35 million loan. The $35 million loan was signed and endorsed by the Ministry of Minister of Finance.
Mr. Jallow, you brought $5 million in cash to the ex-president. Yes. Are you absolving yourself of responsibility for that loan? Even if someone else signed, you are part of the execution. You brought the cash to the country.
Yes, I did.
So why are you not taking full responsibility?
I didn't take responsibility. I told you I was the one who brought it. I told you I was the one that was given the $5 million by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, the loan was signed after the fact. It was not signed at that time. I brought the cash, and then...
If you and Mr. Conte didn't go to Taiwan, would there be a loan? Or would there have been a loan?
Oh yes, oh yes. that's standard procedure at that time with the Taiwanese. Every African country that recognized them, I think they did it the same with Senegal. They did it with Liberia. They showed me a list of countries that went through a similar negotiations with them, and it was standard practice. That was how they conduct their foreign policy. That's the Taiwanese issue.
So your role was not crucial at all. It was something any people or any other parties can replicate.
My role was I was signed by the head of state of the Republic of the Gambia as a special envoy to renegotiate the diplomatic relationship with Gambia. That was my role, and I did it very well. The Gambians benefited a lot from that relationship with Taiwan. A lot of Gambians have been educated thanks to that relationship with Taiwan. A lot of Gambians have received medical assistance, help, all kind of aid from Taiwan. Now, subsequently, what people that were in the council decided to do with the money or whatever happened, well, yes, whatever I know, I would definitely more than be happy to acknowledge a responsibility for any wrongdoing or anything that I've ever done. But as far as I know, and as far as I can see, there is clearly nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with what I did.
Okay. One final question. Did
Yes.
you personally benefit in any way from loans?
I remember when I was leaving Taiwan, they asked me if I want something else, if I want them to give me anything, and I told them, I don't understand, and they were like, okay, well, we want to give you a gift, so what do you want? And I said, maybe a laptop. At that time, the internet was starting, so they gave me a laptop. It was a Taiwanese-made laptop, but it had no software. So I never used it. It was rotting in my room, in my bedroom. That was the only thing I benefited from this. But I think the people that really benefited from that, from the re-establishing the diplomatic relation is the Gambian people, because there was a lot of good that came out of it. Albeit all the misappropriation and the other funny stuff that went down, Gambians did benefit from it a lot.
Mr. Jallow, I'd just like to bring you back to the judgment that you provided from the
Yes.
criminal court. You did provide a French version, and we are waiting for the official translation, and then we will
Yes.
apply to tender it. But I have a few questions for you.
Yes,
At
ma'am.
page 5 of the judgment,
Yes.
the bank manager,
Yes.
when he gave evidence, indicated that a sum of $1,700,000 was paid into the account that was opened for the president in August 1995, deposited in cash by Ebou Jallow.
Yes.
Yes. What is that about? Can you explain that?
That was, if I recall right, there was an money that Jamil gave me. I asked him, what is this for? He said, yes, just take it to Philip. This is going to build to lay the foundation of the political party, APRC, APRC eventually. That's what he told me.
When was this money deposited? Philip came in August, as you said, and opened
Yeah,
the account. And you deposited this in cash, which suggests that you went to Switzerland yourself to deposit the money. So when was this deposited?
I think this was like a week after Philip came and opened that account, I think. I can't recall the exact date, but I know it was right after Philip left. He gave me that money to take it to his account.
Can you explain the circumstances? This is $1.7 million.
Yes.
So he gave you cash, $1.7 million?
Yes, he gave me cash from, he gave it to me. I don't know where he got that money from. I have no idea.
Was anyone present when he gave you the money?
No. It was only me and him and Philip Bidawi.
So you went back with Philip Bidawi?
No, I went after Philip Bidawi. Philip left with some money already. When Philip came to Gambia, he left with some money.
And then you followed a week later and deposited $1.7 million. Is that what you're saying?
I went subsequently, not with Philip though, I went subsequently, and I deposited that amount to Yaya Jammeh's account.
And you said his explanation was that it was for what?
According to Jammeh, he said, when I asked him what is this money, to be honest, he said that he got the money from his explanation was he got the money from Gaddafi. Yes, that was the theory he gave. He said Gaddafi was giving us money, and this is to establish our party. Eventually, after the transition, that seed money that we're going to use for the establishment of the APRC.
In the judgment, also, it is stated that on 16th of January 1996, an additional complaint relating to the sum of $20 million was lodged by the Republic of Gambia against Mr. Ebou Jallow. An additional complaint mixed with a request for sequestration of the accounts held by Mr. Ebou Jallow, or to which he has economic right at Citibank, Switzerland, as well as Citibank, New York branch of Geneva. And a temporary seizure of the accounts was made by Mr. Francois Pécher, Deputy Public Prosecutor, on the 18th of January 1996. Mr. Jallow, tell us about these accounts in Citibank, Switzerland, as well as Citibank, New York, Geneva branch.
Madam Counsel, the Gambia government never had any account in Switzerland. As far as I know, if there was any account in Switzerland that owned by the Gambia government, I think the governor or the central bank should have known that. But there is no...
Sorry, Mr. Jallow, this doesn't say that the Gambia government had accounts. This says that you had accounts in Citibank, Switzerland, Switzerland, and Citibank, New York, Geneva branch, in your name, which were, in respect of which the complaint was lodged.
I have never in my life had an account with the Citibank either in New York or in Switzerland or anywhere else. The only account that I know in Citibank was an account operated and managed by the Central Bank of the Republic of the Gambia. That's the special development account. That's the only account that the Gambia government operates, and I know. I do not have access to that account. The central bank has access to that account. There is no way I can transfer money from that account. Impossible.
Mr. Jallow, you provided this judgment. This complaint was made, was it not? This complaint was lodged by the Gambia government, was it not?
Yes, it was. It was a smear campaign. It's nonsense. It's a waste of complete time. It doesn't exist. There is no way in this world that I have an account in Citibank. That's impossible. It doesn't exist.
Why would the prosecutor, deputy public prosecutor, make an order to that effect if there was no such account?
Oh, ma'am, you know, you got in Switzerland, if you have a judicial request, all you have to do is identify the person and the bank, and the government, all they're going to do is they're going to write to the bank and tell them, look, we have a request from the Republic of the Gambia that the money belonging to this person holding an account in your bank or in whatever form or affiliated with his name has committed some kind of graft. So we are requesting you to block that account. The bank will never give them any account because it's against their secrecy laws. The government can request. It's like today, the government of the Gambia can request to the Credit Lyonnais Bank and say, I want the Swiss government to block any account belonging to Madame Bensouda. Well, does that mean Madame Bensouda has an account there? No, it doesn't mean that. It is a request, and the prosecutor will write to the bank. But that's it. The bank will reply and tell them, we don't know this person, this guy doesn't exist.
So what happened to this complaint?
I have no idea. I don't have to defend something that it doesn't involve me. They were making frivolous charges. Did you have in your possession any form of authority that gave you access to the
Citibank accounts in New York?
Absolutely not. I have no access. I have no authority whatsoever. The only people who have access to the Citibank in New York is the central bank, the governor, the general manager, and the principal accountant. They are the only ones who can authorize a payment from that bank. I, Ebou Jallow, have absolutely no access to the account. None.
Now, when the sequestration was lifted, it means the accounts were then open. Now, you had the general power of attorney. Was it at any time revoked?
Yes. If you look at the judgment, in the judgment, the judge noted it down that during the procedure of the case, the Gambia government, again, Yahya Jammeh, decided to revoke that power of attorney. But
okay.
those are two different. The civil procedure was totally distinct. It has nothing to do with the civil procedure. The civil procedure never lifted that account, the sequestration. They never lifted it as far as I know. Then eventually it was, Aliu Conte was handling that case. He completely took me out of the loop. I have no idea how it ended up.
Let me understand something. The evidence we have from the previous Attorneys General, Mr. Biche and Mrs. Sabali, was that some amount, about 2.7 million, they believe, was recovered from Geneva.
Yeah.
Now, if the sequestration was never lifted, how could any money be recovered by the Gambia government?
Ma'am, the Gambia government, those people who told you that, they were lying to you. I think you're hearing me very clearly and loud. They lied to you. First of all, Yahya Jammeh that money, whatever they get from Switzerland, came from Yahya Jammeh's account. That was Yahya Jammeh's money. They cannot produce any evidence that says that they took money from me. No, that's a lie. It doesn't happen. Those people, the Attorney General is completely clueless. He has no idea what he was dealing with. That's why Yahya Jammeh fired him, because subsequently he blocked Yahya's account. And that's why he was angry and fired him.
That is, Mr. Jallow, we just need to understand that bit. If the account was sequestered in the civil procedure, the account was blocked. It means you had no access, Yahya Jammeh had no access. Is that not so?
No, that's not the case.
Okay, explain.
If the account is blocked, yes, Yahya Jammeh had no access to it. But if it is sequestered, that is a civil procedure. All Yahya Jammeh has to do is write a letter to his lawyer and say, give this to the bank, tell them I revoke the power of attorney I gave to Ebou Jallow so they can lift the sequestration. Because the account was sequestered because my name was attached to the account. So once my name was removed, then the sequestration is naturally lifted. So Yahya Jammeh can have access to the money, take the money and give it to his Attorney General or his people that he sent there and say, oh, we have received this money from, this is the money that Ebou Jallow stole. That's a lie. This is what I'm trying to explain to you.
So explain to us then the basis on which Ebou Jallow was pursuing a civil outcome in your favor. If your power of attorney was gone, you had no power of attorney. Yahya Jammeh had full access to the account. So I still don't understand then what Ebou Jallow, what Aliu Conte could be pursuing on your behalf, in respect of which he made you sign documents.
Aliu Conte was doing this for his own personal self-interest. He knew at that time I was in distress. I was very, very much distressed. I was fighting an entire government on frivolous charges, and my name was bandied all over the place for stealing money, which has never happened. It never happened anyway. They don't even have any evidence that I stole any money. But Conte decided that he is going to punish Jammeh by taking up the civil case, and in that case, eventually deny him from having access to the money. That's what he told me. And I said, fine, I will give you power authority to go ahead and pursue the civil procedure. That was the only reason. And later, he disappeared from my life. Up till today, I have no way of contacting Ali Conte. I don't know even where he is. I hear today he's in Congo. At one point, I heard that he was convicted in Congo for some criminal forgery. And the next day, I hear he ran away. He was in South Africa. I don't know where he is. I haven't talked to him for years. But this is what happened, man.
I just want you to explain, how come you were in Switzerland when you were pursued by the government for stealing 3 million, allegedly stealing 3 million? What were you doing in Switzerland?
I was never in Switzerland when the government was pursuing the so-called 3 million. I was in America when they were pursuing the 3 million. It came after a fact. After I wrote the resignation letter, that was the moment the Gambia government decided to bring charges against me.
You were in Switzerland. That's why you were under so much distress, you said. In Switzerland, when you were made to sign over.
Oh, you mean subsequently? Yes. During the trials, I went there to give my testimony in court. In fact, the Gambia government was trying to negotiate with me. They're actually not Gambia government. Yaya Jammeh himself, his lawyer, Dante Kanonjika, approached my lawyer and said that they wanted to settle things out of court between me and Jammeh. I said, no, I am not. Because they already made some serious allegations. Unless the Gambia government apologize and go in public and write that what the allegations they made against me is completely false and frivolous and malicious, I am not going to negotiate with Yaya Jammeh. So that's why I went there to testify. And when I went before the magistrate. He asked me, I said, let the Gambian government tell me what money I stole from them. Yaya Jammeh never showed up, never appeared in that court. So that was the last time I met Conte. That was the last time I was in court.
All right. You are saying nothing was recovered. At the same time, Mr. Jallow, you are saying also that Yaya Jammeh had access because it was
it was his account.
He had access to his account. So
yes.
What was the case about? What was there to negotiate? If he had access, the power of attorney had been revoked. You no longer had access to the account. So what was there to negotiate?
Because of the civil case of sequestration, the account was sequestered. It was sequestered because my name was in the account. I had a power of attorney to Yaya Jammeh's account. Now, that was the matter before the judge. How did that money get in there? So the lawyer, Yaya Jammeh's lawyer, was trying to negotiate with my lawyer to settle the matter out of court, and I refused. So when they sequestered the funds, he had access because they will send him bank statements. They will send him, all details of the banks, whatever he needs to do. But ultimately, the money was his because my name was completely taken out of the account. So he can negotiate with the lawyers. I don't know how they do in Swiss law. There's loopholes they can go about to be able to so that he can get hold of the money. In short, what I'm trying to explain here, madam, is 3 million was withdrawn. That's what they accuse me of. That 3 million was authorized by Yaya Jammeh. That is very clear. The banker went he swore on the oath in that judgment that Yaya Jammeh authorized him to give me the money. That is very clear. And there is no way anybody can steal any 3 million from the central bank without anybody knowing. That is absolute nonsense.
Okay, let me just ask you this question, just for the avoidance of doubt. Did you withdraw? We know you were paid cash of $3 million, you said, in $1 bills, which you have testified to, which you
yes.
1 million of which you paid out, and the balance you brought back after deducting certain expenditure. My question is, did you withdraw any other monies from the account to which you had a general power of attorney when
No.
you left this, as at the date of your resignation? You had a general power of attorney to this Credit Lyonnais account. Did you withdraw any money from the account?
I did not withdraw any money from Yaya Jammeh's account, and I did not withdraw any other money from the central government, Gambia government's account. Never.
Now, I'll just shift to another subject. You also were involved in trips to Libya.
Yes.
Can you tell us about your trips to Libya?
I went to Libya, I think, a couple of times. We were at that time trying to secure some kind of assistance from Colonel Gaddafi. I think the last time I went there was the day that the late Koro Cisse was murdered. I was right there. In fact, President Gaddafi himself told me about the death of Koro Cisse, and you know, he was trying to express his condolences, and he told me that you know, I want you to go and advise your president that this kind of activities have to stop. But the main purpose of my visit there was to negotiate something, kind of assistance in kind of cash or kind, any kind of support that the transition government can receive from Gaddafi. And Gaddafi used to give us cash donations. I remember on that occasion he gave money to the late Baba Diop for the president. He gave him some money. I don't know how much money because I didn't want to get involved in that. But I know he gave him a lot of money to give to the president. And this was way before we even recognized Taiwan.
So you're saying the times when you went to Libya, you went with Mr. Baba Diop?
Yes, yes. I think the only time I went there was with Baba Diop.
Did you go to Libya with Edward Singate?
Never. I never visited with Edward Singate.
Apart from Mr. Baba Diop, did anyone else bring money from Libya, as far as you can remember?
Only Baba Diop I can recall. I know Baba used to go there a lot and used to bring money for Yaya Jammeh. Yes, they used to make a lot of cash donations to Chairman Jammeh. That I know for a fact.
These were cash donations or were they grants to the government, to the Gambia government?
I have never witnessed any kind of grant to the government. All I know is they always give them cash donations all the time. They never, no trace, always cash.
Were the cash donations not meant for the Gambian people?
Well, you know, one can argue if you were a head of state by virtue of your office, yes. If you receive any amount of money by virtue of your office, obviously, naturally, it belongs to the state. But, you know, like I said, this was a junta. It was a military dictatorship. We were operating outside the normal law. So I have no idea. I mean, yes, you can make an argument. But
now, you said you benefited by way of a laptop. But isn't it true that you also received some cash benefit?
No, I never received any cash from Taiwan. Never. Never. Not a single dime. Ali Conte did receive some cash. I saw it. I saw him, his bag full of money. I saw that from the Taiwanese. But I never received a single dime from the Taiwanese.
Did you receive cash from Libya, or did the president give you from monies from Libya?
Not directly from Libya, but at one point, yes, Yaya Jammeh did give me cash, about 100,000. He gave me an envelope, and I asked him. Subsequently, I went down because he was at the third floor, I was in the first floor. So he called me up, gave me an envelope. I went down, opened it. I saw the money, then I called him. I said, well, what is this money for? He said, well, that's yours. And I said, what about the other council member? He said, well, I already gave them, each council member I gave him some money. So that was money he had. I know he was getting money from from Libya. That was before recognizing Taiwan. And I know also at one point, there was, we were also selling Gambia government passports. The Gambia government was selling passports to Chinese in Hong Kong. I know that for a fact, and he was also getting money from them.
When you say 100,000, is 100,000 what?
100,000 US dollars.
And you're saying every member of council received the same amount?
They either receive more or less. I cannot verify the amount they receive. I can only verify my own. But I know he told me he gave them money.
Did he tell you the source of this money, 100,000 US dollars?
Never. He never told me.
So basically,
But I suspect it's from Gaddafi, though. I really suspect from him.
So basically, Mr. Jallow, what you're saying is that the ex-president, at the time the chairman, had absolute privilege as to how he dealt with monies that came into the coffers of government at the time or at the State House. He could do whatever he wanted with these funds.
Basically, yes. He does whatever he wants to do.
And you were okay with that?
I was never okay with it. I had my reservation. I have my issues with Jammeh from day one. I have been having problems with Jammeh in so many issues, and always he will calm me down and tell me, well, no, don't worry, and all that. You know, you got to allow him, give him a chance, and all this. And he was making threats to me, threats to my life, threats to sending me to prison all the time. I mean, I have heard several times he tell me, oh, Jallow, I'm going to send you to Mile 2, because I question his authority.
Now, were members of the council aware that Yahya Jammeh opened a Swiss bank account?
I'm not sure, but I know that for a fact, because I was present when he opened the account.
Was it ever mentioned in any council meeting?
No. And one thing I want to clarify, ma'am, you know, there is a council, formal council, but most of the deliberations that were being done was never done at the formal council setting. Some of them were done off council forum. Sometimes the chairman will make his unilateral decision without even informing other council members. They will just inform you after the fact, but not during the deliberation of the action.
Now, Mr. Edward Singate said no money, no cash came to the council.
I don't understand what he means. When he signed,
that you never,
he signed, he signed an endorsement acknowledging receipt of the $35 million loan. He signed it. I signed it. We signed it and sent it to the central bank. The central bank should have records of this information. I'm just amazed. None of this is showing up right now with the commission.
Okay. Just a few more questions. You mentioned this Mamadi Jani.
Yes.
You said he was a Guinean American national.
Yes.
Did you see him, or do you have knowledge of him thereafter, after the coming back to the Gambia with this case?
Yes, subsequently I get to know him very well because I was staying in DC area, and he was also residing in the DC area, in Washington DC area. After the incident, I came to him one day. We started talking, and in the process we became friends because I wanted to have an understanding how this why this 3 million was transferred, and why is Ali Conte trying to involve Jammeh into this counterfeiting business. He told me a lot about Conte. He happened to know Conte back in the days when he was an agent for the former president of Zaire, President Mobutu. Conte was a very close associate with President Mobutu, and I think that's how he told me, that's how he once met Conte in Kinshasa, because Conte was married into, I think, into Mobutu's family. And he used to frequent the palace. That's how he met Conte. So I told him eventually really what happened, and I told him that I reported to the U.S. authorities about the counterfeiting business, and they have been doing their investigation. So I don't know about him, and I want him to tell me his level of involvement. And he said, well, you know, look, Conte called me. I was staying in the hotel. He called me and said, I want you to come and because this guy doesn't know you, this African, and later I will give you something. That's how he explained to me. But then he said, in time we became good friends. And one day I went to his office and he said, Jallow, can you believe your president is still counterfeiting US dollars? I said, you must be kidding. He said, no, I'm dead serious. He said he had me contacting a guy that I know about, a guy called Bokum. And he said, if you don't believe me, here is President Jammeh's phone number. Bokum gave it to me. Call him and ask him. So I called President Jammeh at Mamadi Jane's office. And I told him, I was like, Yaya, are you really serious? Are you still doing this crazy stuff? Don't you know that people know about this already? And he was like, I don't care. He started making his threats over the phone that he's going to handle me if he swear to God, if I ever step foot in Africa, I'm dead and all that stuff. But I know he was doing this kind of thing even after I left. And this was like 2-3 years after. So Mamadi, in the end, he sympathized a lot with me. And he's the one he introduced me to Chief Fernandez, the Nigerian billionaire. And Chief Fernandez, on several occasions, he asked me, what do you want to do eventually with Jammeh? And I said, look, if we can find mercenaries and overthrow his government, I am on board more than willing. This guy, through Jammeh, was financing me to overthrow Jammeh on 3 occasions. I worked with Senegalese presidents in two occasions. One occasion was an independent incident that the chief financed himself because he gave us money and this was ongoing during over the time. So that built a relationship between me and Janet.
What about Philip Bidawit?
Philip Bidawit, after that incident, I have no contact with Philip Bidawit. But Philip is Ali Conte's personal, they're friends, because when he came to Gambia, he spent one night, in fact, he didn't spend a night at the Carabao Hotel. He booked the hotel, but he never slept there. He was sleeping all the time at Ali Conte's home. So that was the last time I saw Philip. That was the last time I have any contact or information with Philip.
Jean-Francois Guillet?
Jean-Francois, I left him in Gambia. He was there with Yaya Jammeh. Until I left, he was all the time in Gambia, staying at Conte's home.
Right. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jallow, I'm going to apply to have the documents that you provided. The judgment will be tendered when it's translated officially. Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted documents provided by this witness, including a letter in August unsigned by both Captain Edward Sekate and Captain Ebou Jallow, being a file copy of a letter dated August 21st, 1995, sent to the governor of the central bank, confirming the loan of $35 million US from Taiwan, 5,000 of which had been received in cash. A fax from Philip Bidawit dated August 23rd, 1995. A memo from Central Bank dated 4th September 1995 confirming instructions to transfer $3 million to Philip Bidawit, which was signed by the bank management, the manager banking services, Mr. Abdoulaye Cham, who has given evidence before this commission, has confirmed that the signatures were his signature and that of Mamadou B. Saho, and a resignation letter of Captain Ebou Jallow, AFPRC. You have to follow up.
Copies of documents tendered by Captain Ebou Jallow, witness number 224, to wit: A. Confirmation dated 29 August 1995 of loan proceeds $35 million granted on the 9th of August 1995. We should add by Taiwan. Is it? Sorry, it should be loan by loan. Granted, yeah. Hold on. Loan by Taiwan to GOT, Government of UTG. Sorry, I'll read that again. It's confirmation dated 29 August 1995 of loan proceeds of $35 million loaned by Taiwan to the government of the Gambia on 9th August 1995. B. Facts dated 23rd August 1995 from Philip Bidau to Captain Ebou Jallow. Re. Account opening documentation. C. Central Bank of the Gambia voucher dated 4th September 1995. Re. $3 million payment to Philip Bidawit. D. Letter dated 12 October 1995 from Captain Ebou Jallow to the chairman of the AFPRC. Re. Resignation of Captain Ebou Jallow. Admitted in a bundle marked MS 257.
Mr. Jallow, I just want you to clarify one thing for the record. Now, in the judgment, at page 5,
yes,
it says, secondly, for the $3 million in condition transferred from Central Bank of the Gambia to
yes,
account number 49275, opened in Ebou Jallow's name at Credit Lioness, the account manager is equivocally categorical. When Ebou Jallow asked to remove the entire $3 million cash, the manager contacted President Jammeh by telephone. My question is, you gave us the impression that this money was transferred to Philip Bidawit, and you have given us a document to that effect.
Yes.
And paid into the ex-president's name.
Yes.
Account. But this judgment seems to be suggesting that there was a $3 million from Central Bank which was paid into an account opened in your name. Can you clarify?
Yes, I can clarify that. Now, if you have a numbered account, according from what I understand with this Credit Lyonnais and the Swiss banking secrecy laws, if you have a numbered account, then nobody is going to send any money directly to that numbered account. Whenever you're going to receive any amount of money, you can instruct the bank to generate a temporary banking number. so that as soon as the money arrives in the bank, that number doesn't exist anymore. So because I had a power of attorney that I was granted by the president, he called the Philip and told him, I'm gonna be conducting this transaction. So the bank told me that they're gonna open a numbered account under my name, since I have a power of attorney to Yahya Jammeh's private personal account. This was just to protect the chairman at that time, because we don't want to make it obvious. The bank, I will say, the bank, they have the secrecy laws, and this is how they operate. It was a numbered account. As soon as the money hit the bank, the number disappeared. If this was meant for me, Philip Bidawit would never call the president, Chairman Jammeh, and ask him whether to give me the money. Obviously, it wasn't meant for me. That's why he called him. And obviously, the central bank themselves wrote in the memorandum of account entry that it was paid to Philip Bidawit. So in the records of the central bank, the money was paid to Philip Bidawit. It's very clear. It was not meant for me.
Mr. Jallow, the document that you gave, which is the document dated 4th September 1995 from Central Bank, does not mention your name. It actually is a receipt that money was transferred to Philip Bidawit.
Yes.
That does not exclude the possibility that the money that you authorized to be transferred is different from the money that was transferred to Philip Bidawit. Do you have any reaction to that?
I don't understand how it can ever be different. It was the same 3 million that was in contention.
You are saying it was the same 3 million.
It's the same 3 million.
Do you have a copy of the memo that you wrote? Unfortunately, the central bank cannot find the records. Do you have a copy of the memo that you wrote instructing the transfer of $3 million from this account 816?
No, I don't have a record of that.
Did you keep a copy of the general power of attorney that was issued to you by President Jammeh?
No, as soon as Jammeh gave me the copy, I went to the bank and I deposited. Now, when you have a secret account with the Swiss banks, you can opt to retain all correspondence to your account to the bank. So the bank will retain all information. So when I came in with the power of attorney, the banker retained that power of attorney. I don't have a copy of it.
Okay.
Yes. But but he made it clear in the judgment. He testified on the oath. He said it very clearly. Jammeh authorized me to take the money. It was meant for Jammeh anyway. If it was meant for me, I would never. There was no point for him saying that he talked to Jammeh.
All right. I have no further questions for Mr. Jallow. Thank you very much.
Mr. Jallow, why is it that the council members, the former chairman, selected you as a signatory or to give you the power of attorney? Was that a military order?
Yeah, because he wanted me to go and retrieve the money from in the bank. So that's why he gave me the power of attorney.
It wasn't because your thinking and his thinking were aligned and you trusted each other? Well,
obviously he trusted me. Now,
did you trust him?
Jammeh? No, I never trusted him. Never. That's why I was very happy when the banker called him and recorded the conversation and presented it in court.
So you accepted the power of attorney out of fear?
Not out of fear.
You consented to it?
Yes.
And you gladly flew around the world to represent him?
Because the 3 million was transferred. Somehow I was involved. So in one way, he has to include me in the chain of accountability at the end of the day, because I wrote the memo to the central bank, and the central bank transferred the money. So, and I asked him, he said he's going to explain to me later. Well, ultimately, I knew where the money went. I knew who had the money. I received the money on his behalf, and he called the bank, told him to give me the money, and I brought back the money and everything he wanted, and mission accomplished. That was the end of story.
Mr. Jallow, did Edward, Yankuba, and Kaba Bajo know about this arrangement between you and the former chairman?
I'm not sure. Maybe he told them, maybe he did not. I don't know.
And you didn't have to disclose it to them? It was an agreement between the two of you?
Yes. Sometimes in statecraft, if there is a confidential information, you can compartmentalize it because of the nature of the information. What
was confidential about the loan from Taiwan?
It wasn't well, the loan, everybody knew about the loan.
The money came from the loan, right?
Which money?
All this 3 million power.
The 3 million was transferred by the central bank. I did not transfer it. The central bank transferred it from their account in Citibank to Credit Lyonnais to Philip Bidawit. Philip Bidawit is Yaya Jammeh's personal banker.
So you did all of this out of duty to the nation? Yes or no?
You can call it duty, sir.
I'm asking you, not what I call it. I want to know what you did. Did you do it out of duty to the nation, or were you serving the former chairman?
Yes, I was a member of the APRC, and I was doing it on behalf of the APRC in my official capacity as a member of the APRC. I wasn't doing it on my personal endeavor. I was doing it on behalf of the Republic of the Gambia, as far as I know.
And Mr. Jallow, as a council member and coming from the military, were you all prepared or equipped to govern the country? Did the military prepare you to govern the country, let alone talk about the finances of the country?
For a start, sir, I can tell you with a straight face that nobody on this planet is prepared to govern any country. It has never happened. There is no school that trains people how to run a country. I have seen military people running countries. In Senegal, they were run by people.
Mr. Jallow, I am talking about the AFPRC.
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
Can you make it relevant to Gambia?
I'm giving you a context to my answer. And I'm trying to tell you that there is nowhere in this planet where people are prepared to run a country.
So you are running the country by trial and error?
Everybody runs a country by trial and error. Maybe you have never served at that level. Yes, but every politician serves by trial and error.
Mr. Jallow, just one question. You assisted, from what we've heard, you assisted ex-President Jammeh to open an account, a private account in Switzerland.
No, ma'am, correction, I did not assist him. He opened it on his own volition. I never assisted him.
Well, I guess you were the one dealing with Philip Bidawit, if I put it that way.
Yes, I want you to state it correctly. I did not assist him to open an account. He opened his account on his own volition. I never assisted him.
So what part would you say you played in that?
I played no role in that.
But the communication came through you, right?
What?
The communication came through you?
The banker communicated to me because I was told by Jammeh to receive him at the airport. That's why he sent me that fax.
Okay.
But I did not help him in any way.
Okay, that's fine. Moving on. When you knew that he was opening a private account, did you ever have concerns as to why he needed to open a private account in Switzerland, and also to where the money was coming from?
Well, why he opened a private account, that is an answer only Yaya Jammeh can give you. I cannot give you that answer. I don't know what he was thinking in his mind when he did that. However, as a citizen, as a private individual, everybody is entitled to open a private account. There is nothing wrong or inappropriate or illegal. Everybody does that all over the world. So him doing it, to me, I thought it was his own discretion. That was on him. I mean, he was not telling, he never told me, Jallow, Captain Jallow, I am going to take money from the bank and I'm going to take the money from the loan and open a private account. If he had told me that, I would tell him, no, you can't do that. But if he tells me I have opened an account, I give power authority to my personal account, as far as the information I know, there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing absolutely illegal about opening a private account. A president can do that. There is nothing wrong.
I think that is quite clear. Anyone can open a private account. The point is, power was taken in 1994. This account was opened in 1995, thereabouts. So if you look at the amount of money that was transferred in, I think it makes sense for one to wonder where the money came from.
Well, I know that Jammeh was being given a lot of money left and right. He was receiving money from all kinds of people. I know Gaddafi was giving him money. Subsequently, maybe the Taiwanese were giving him money. Sometimes he tells me, sometimes he doesn't. I have no idea.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, just one question. Mr. Jallow, did any of the council members know about the transfer of the $3 million to Yaya Jammeh's private bank account at Credit Lyonnais?
Yes, Singate knows about it. In fact, when I first wrote the memo to the central bank, I remember the general manager, I think his name was Mobudu Bayo or Mobudu Bayo. I cannot remember which one is it. But his first name was Mobudu, a tall guy, dark-skinned man. He was the general manager at the time. He called me, he said, Captain, really, we see this request that from the office of the chairman, but I don't know what is all this about. And normally you guys should, according to our understanding for our records, we just want to know why this transaction is being, you guys are requesting the transaction. And I said, well, that's exactly the information I was given. If the chairman told me it was for this purpose, I would have written it down, but I don't even know myself. And he said, well, my governor is having problems. The governor has problem with it because he thinks that he needs more further clarification about the transaction. And I said, well, if the governor has problem with it, well, by all rights, he should contact the president and ask him, why is this money being transferred? So a couple of days later, the governor called me and said he already spoke to the chairman, Yaya Jammeh, and Jammeh told him that he is the one who authorized it, it's okay. And then Bayo later called me and confirmed that yes, the governor told him that it's okay. And then he said, well, and then he started to apologize and say, you know, I wasn't trying to blow you or anything. I said, no, you're doing your job. I have nothing to hide. If you feel something is not appropriate, by all means, you did the right thing. Now, knowing that, I know for a fact that the governor already called the vice chairman before even calling Jammeh, because he later confirmed to me that he first asked Singate as a signatory to the other special development account in this with the central bank. He said he called him, and Singate told him that he should refer the matter to the president. So the council know about it. Jammeh knows about it. Singate knows about it. I know about it. 3 members of the council know about it for fact. I know that for a fact. And then the governor, central bank, the general manager, they all know about it. It is no secret. There was nothing absolutely secret about that transfer. It was an open book. And this was done in the 4th of September. I left in October. So you want to tell me from 4th of September until the 3rd of October, nobody in the Gambia knows that 3 million is missing from the Gambia government account? That's impossible. That's an outrageous lie. That is totally wrong.
No further questions.
Yes, Mr. Jallow, on a serious matter, I have to make the final word in these proceedings today. You have attempted to implicate certain persons in homicide, a violent crime.
Yes.
We have not asked you for evidence because that is not within our mandate, the mandate of the committee. You must note that no assumption can be made by this commission of any alleged violent offense like murder. You are well advised, if you have evidence, to go to a different forum. You report to the police or wait for the TRRRC. That is all I have to say. We've done almost beyond the possible now. Some minutes to 6. We will rise until tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Farm Fresh, Farm Fresh, Farm Fresh, Farm Fresh. Farm Fresh, li marché bu nga xam ne la ñun ñépp ko yor képp ku am téléphone am internet rek mun nga faa jëndee ak www.farmfresh.gm mun nga faa tànn jënd lépp li nga bëgg yaa xam nduga bi lu munti doon jën nen la légume la ganaar la lépp lu munti doon Farm Fresh buñ la musa jaay dara lu lax lépp luñ lay jaay rek lu fresh la mooy doon te lii yëpp nag si biir réew mii lañ koy liggéeyee li dara gënu koo neex mun ngaa jënd saa yu la neexee ak foo munti nekk ñu indil la ko ba sa buntu kër si njëg bu gën a yomb képp ko bëgg a jokkoo ak ñun 8906 592 wala 677 602. Farm Fresh, Farm Fresh, Farm Fresh, Farm Fresh. Farm Fresh li marché bu nga xam ne la ñun ñépp ko yor képp ku am téléphone am internet rek mun nga faa jëndee ak www.
Chromium Extra Bonanza.
Extra Bonanza.
20 major winners every 20th from February to July.
Chromium 2020. Recharge $100 credit or more to be one of the 20 lucky winners. Every month, 20 winners.
15 winners will get rice, sugar, and cooking oil. There will also be a winner for a refrigerator, win flat screen TV, win a generator, win a motorbike, or an iPhone 6.
Chromium Extra Bonanza. Draw starts 20th of every month. Live on GRTS and Paradise FM. Chromium 2020.
Terms and conditions apply.
Chromium. We are better together.
Moro mbijan do bakandro
ko ngalla janna kibaro moy kalka sola bagaso wafu
e ka fontelle ko sola enterprise fo fendi nabe dendi sola la fannale la sola la bundal ndella ko do kuwo ke mole janka sola joran kendo natale adum min nata na ko fanandiya birin gambia jam fo gambia e bantala nga bagasol samba be ton ka do ku kendo be ke mo be ni nga do ko ke momo ndi en ka sanji kilin garantie dilale nyin kama ko la do ko lanno si waran ni tema
bagasi falle
bagaso min bijay fofe nabe dendi sola la bundala la sola la fannala a bagaso sifa be bijay lightning and pumping system ndella fanan ko ke mole min be dendi na ko ni dandal ni kordalla ka jiodi alla ni ka lampo fanan sika ka dialla wo pompin wolbe den ni gadinol ni ku kotal ni la jiko ni la fama bela lightning wala dimbani ku kotal danno mu sola enterprise tin ko la kali
fama mu sola
fo fembe den ni sola la haajo la janne be loro
wato tenta bul baga solta
adum fana be ku fula la leje bunda fula fana be mbulle fan ka bonan dami anin dula ba fula safonya America ni Europe na fan ka bana wolta dum doronno mote min ka fenkendo na te sola la baga sol kana te nyam banko kanya
abanda baga solta ni
ngata
Farm Fresh, Farm Fresh.
déglul tuuti ma yeggal day wax li saam xel xalaat ci réew mi il faut travail beaucoup travail toujours travail li baax ci réew mi
ay lii lu mu doon fii ñàpp son seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen dige woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom lii lu mu doon ñun dañoo sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen dige woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom
dëkk baa ngi tooy ba inondé ci lim lëndëm ak wóora di askan wi di jooy ndax jaaxle ñàkk dërëm ak wéra di nga dëkke tukki dem ak dikk doo toog ni ko tërëri sa nguur a bëri sikk ak i jëwrin yu xamadi yaay fal di folli di teggi di bumi weer bu nekk remaniement bu bees ni yëre bu ñuy summi yaay wax di weddi di jël di bàyyi te kenn du ne du ni ku lay jéem a weddi takk der yi jàpp landu li xanaa gi soo ne ñi la wër ñoo gën a foqale bukki dañoo xiif ba bu ñuy lekk ginaar sax duñ ko suqi mais nag doo yàlla ndax munoo fekke bëccëg fekke guddi njiit bu bon ni bañ bu yàqu li ciy pexe mooy buddi mooy tul ñu mujj ak yow ni wàccu ni si mujj ak benn ali wàcc si tali bi génne la pale bi nga daal di lali la foule folle personne ne peut arrêter sa folie su fekkee ne fenn moo la fal xamal ne dëgg lay folli
lii lu mu doon fii ñàpp sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen dige woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom lii lu mu doon ñun dañoo sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen dige woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom
léegi ñëpp xam ne politique bi ay naxaate la luñ la waxati suba ba ngoon jàppal ne ay kàcc la si say neuf ñëpp yam bu ñu faloo rek fàtte la ni oto bu paan boo ko poussé bu tàkkee wàcc la ku ci fallu soppi doxalin foog ne yegg na fàtte fi mu jógee ak li mu déggee ndax léegi tedd na rey kollu ni bul fokkin di wane ne regg na toppatootul sax na xol askan mi sedd na sëriñ si moom mel na ne yëgul ne dëkk bi metti na fayul ndox fayul courant ñàkkul dépense te matle na nguur gi di ko féexal mu daal di gëmm ni gumba dootuñu nangu mu ñuy fooxal ñu ne cell ni muuma li muy dégle du sharia du farata du sunna diine jële mbubboo ak di xëccoo alalu àdduna meeting la gën a farataal waraate àjjuma nañ waxante dëgg bàyyi masla moo ñuy génne ci musiba
lii lu mu doon fii ñàpp sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen dige woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom lii lu mu doon ñun dañoo sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen dige woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom ku ci manti falu rek soppaliku du fàttaliku li tax mu falu ku ci manti bakku rek nga daal di nangu foog ni waaje fi gën ay kii la wala kee la ana kii tane sa morom kun ci walu ba di ko sentu mu jël beneen yoon kii la wala kee la ana kii tane sa morom kun ci walu ba di ko sentu mu jël beneen yoon buñ ko fogawul woon